Well, okay, I'm back. I almost missed this month, but I wanted to make sure I get one of these videos out a month. I'm like only on the third episode, and it's been what 4 months since I started this. It's gonna take a while since there's like 70 episodes. So I'll be done with this in 20 years at the rate I'm going. 70 months? I don't know. Anyway. The third episode on this disc is Where No Duck Has Gone Before. So already you know what we're kind of parodying. Star Trek. But really, like, it's also kind of Buck Rogers and just cheap public access sci-fi. It starts out with Scrooge is lifting weights. By weights, they're just like money bags full of dimes and nickels, because, he rich. And, he also has, like, it looks like the bench press is like gold and the bar is gold, and I'm just thinking gold is like a soft metal. People bite into it to see if gold coins, the cliche, bite into the gold coin to see if it's real. So wouldn't like a weight bar just when you try to lift it? I don't know. So it's a Commander Courage of the Cosmos. Actually, I think it's just Courage of the Cosmos. Maybe it's Major. Yeah, they said Major, but Courage of the Cosmos is. Like I said, it's sort of like Buck Rogers meets original Star Trek, because he's the actor when he's actually acting as Courage is very clearly Shatnering this up, but then when he's talking normally, he's more kind of a slime ball. And it's a very low budget show, even in universe. Like the chairs on the ship are like literal just metal folding chairs. You can see the strings, that kind of making fun of that kind of thing. It's really fun to see that animated. Like, and Scrooge is waiting for a phone call from the Hollywood people because he loaned them money. Turns out they can't pay him back. Reasons? And then, it's the 80s, so they don't have that MCU money yet, So he, as his compensation, he can't be paid back in money, but they give him Duckburg Studios, where this show is filmed. And so the nephews and Doofus, who I completely forgot was in the original, he's there. And his whole thing is he's fat, and so he loves to eat. Look at him. He's fat and he eats. That's the joke. Still, though, kind of preferable to the creepy the one in the new one is. Ugh, what is his deal? What is he gonna do with the umbrella? So it's the kid, the Huey, Louie, Doofus, Launchpad, and Gyro, which is the first time I've been introduced to either of these characters, or all three of these characters in this version, in this set. Again, I know we met at least Launchpad in the pilot movie, but don't know if I have that movie. So they go to meet they go on the set, and it's even more low budget. Courage is, I'm gonna keep calling him Commander Courage. I just know it. But Courage is supposedly talking to their Scotty because they have the accent, and he's using the comms, but it's just a toaster. You push the thing down and just I need more power. I cannot do it, Captain. That. And so there's a little charm to that. But Scrooge is well, this sucks. I'm not losing money on this crap. We're gonna change things. And Courage thinks, they never named the actor, by the way. They never named him, they just call him Courage. But he thinks that Launchpad is going to get his job because Launchpad's a real pilot. And Launchpad hates this guy and this show. And he and Dewey are fighting about it, and I find that hilarious, given that the reboot, Launchpad is a huge Darkwing Duck fan, and while Dewey didn't make fun of him, is, they had that kind of the opposite dynamic when they had the episode of Darkwing Duck, where Darkwing Duck was a show within the show, and it just amuses me. It's, again, I'm gonna probably keep doing this. I'm gonna try not to, but, go back and forth, compare the old one and the new one. It's just inevitable. I don't remember Launchpad being competent. The new one, he's, kind of a doof, but he's lovable and he can do heroic things. This one, he's actually a good pilot. And I swear, even back then, the whole thing was that he crashed. Was I Mandelaing myself? Am I, retroactively taking the 2017 Launchpad and putting the 1987, putting those traits on him? If anyone out there can remember that, let me know, or I guess I'll discover it for myself when I get to more episodes. But yeah, so, Scrooge has Gyros, says, we're going to fix this, we're going to make it better, because if the show tanks, the studio shuts down, and I lose money, and I'm not lose money, because capitalism. Millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires, all that stuff. So he is like, make it as real as you can, and Gyros knows just make it real. And so they make it real. They come back 2 weeks. This all happens in 2 weeks, by the way, which is really impressive. He builds a functioning rocket with cameras inside and multiple floors and control panels in 2 weeks. Scrooge is definitely not paying him enough, which new Gyro would have made sure to tell him. So Courage is like, well, I'm gonna butter up the nephews so Scrooge will like me, and we all get to keep our jobs, but mostly so I get to keep my job. And so they make like this special episode where they're gonna go into the ship and like just act out like the alien encounters, but it said it's real, so they actually launched the ship. It's stupid, but I love it. And so like Launchpad like almost dies. All right, he almost dies because Courage is like, "Hey, we'll see ya," and he punches him, like kicks him down. Like I thought he kicked him off the ship at first, but it was just like to a lower, I guess a lower engine or a lower control panel. But there's a door, he opens it, and he flies out, and they're in space, so he pulls himself up. I'm like, well, he should be dead, but, cartoons. And so, but he's able to, like, Launchpad's able to take control of the ship to help them guide through the asteroid belt they come across, because of course they do. And so I guess it's like an auxiliary, what is the word I'm looking for? Control, like, bridge, there we go, auxiliary bridge. But before that, when they lose the signal, Scrooge is freaking out. Because he's worried about the nephews. And for some reason, he takes his cane. He takes his cane and starts bashing controls. And he's like, don't you have a radio? And Gyro's like, well, yes, but no. And Scrooge realized what he did. Like, why did you do that? Why did you did that? That's your fault. Why break things? What the... So they make it through the asteroid belt, and then Launchpad's like, we need to go home, this is real, and Courage's like, no, it's not. Besides, we can't go home till we meet the aliens. There's no such thing as aliens. Then aliens. Yeah, aliens show up, and they're the Kronk, which I think is hilarious. They're bringing the Kronk scene back, man. And they're kind of like one-eyed, gelatinous kind of creatures that go around the universe and look for worlds they can conquer. And so they take the nephews and, like, they threaten to turn them into fertilizer. Like, if you don't give us information, we'll turn you into fertilizer. And Launchpad shoves Courage, like, well, there's the man for the job. And then they're like, we're going to scan your brains. And then Courage, like, pushes Launchpad forward, like, there's the man for the job. So they scan Launchpad's brain. And I'm sure that'll work out just fine for them. So, whole thing ensues. They have to get out. They're in prison. The nephews and Courage and Doofus are in jail. Doofus eating weird, slimy alien food, because, again, fat. Eventually they escape by... There's a robot butler, and they trick him with the sick trick, but Courage, like, hi-ya him, but it doesn't work because he's a robot, and then Launchpad just shoves the alien food down his control panel, falls apart, just breaks him. And then he, like, takes the gun he had, which is a custard gun, and threaten, escape thing. And like, we're gonna, it's not a gun, it's a food distributor. Like, well, it'll do, and just blast the guy in the face. After, Courage tried to punch the alien, because it's the fight scene, and they has fight. And he punches him, but it's like, goo gets stuck, his hand gets stuck in the goo, because they have no real bodies. And then Courage finally figures out, hey, this is real. I need to get the F out of here. And leaves the kids and Launchpad just on the ship. And so then the Launchpad and the kids are trying to leave. And they get to, like, the transporter room. And I don't understand why the transporter room exists. Because like, they go in there, and then the aliens go in there, and then just this gag of them, like, getting their bodies all switched around. And then they get back to normal and then run out. And I'm like, what was the point of you? Was it because coordinates weren't set? I don't understand. I'm probably thinking of it too much. But it's just weird. and they trap the aliens in there, and then they go to like the flight, this glowing orb, which is the flight navigation, the flight computer, and Launchpad does something, and he gets the ship home, or he reconvenes with Courage's ship, because Courage finally got in contact with Scrooge, and Scrooge is like, if you don't get my nephews, you're fired! Probably worse. It's like, but I have a 5-year contract. Anyway, they reconvene, they get all together, they leave, the aliens are like, we'll just use the information we scanned from Launchpad and get home. And, like, Launchpad being, again, kind of a doofus. Not fat doofus, actual doofus. The computer ship just bounces everywhere and doesn't get near Earth. Oh, I forgot over this. When the Kronk are trying to stop Launchpad and the boys, they call them human? And that's always weird to me. The new series does this too, like mankind and humankind, like, but you're ducks. Maybe I got spoiled by My Little Pony, when they had their own terminology for every creature, every pony, every creature, you know, things like that. They actually took that into consideration. Whereas old series just like, well, it's on Earth and they're ducks, but we'll still call them humans, because, it's hard to come up with names. So anyway, they get home, and Scrooge has the place turned into like a space museum, and Courage now has to work as like the mascot to give kids candy and you know, stuff like that, because he has a 5-year contract. The end. It was a fun episode. The weird thing was, like, the music was oddly intense at times when they were just talking, and I don't know if this is like not just the new series, but like cartoon background music in general. Is a helicopter overhead. Awesome. Well, not cutting that. Anyway, but like, it's become more fitting. Whereas this, like, it just feels like they just threw a music note they had, like they had a piece of music and just threw it in there. There's no real thought to it. I'm gonna pay attention from now on and see if I notice that, 'cause I didn't really notice it in the other 2 episodes, but this one is just, it was oddly dramatic for them just saying, hey, let's go onto this ship. And it's like, it's weird. Also, I'm gonna pay attention and see if this pops up again, because I do remember a lot of, like, 80s cartoons had stock themes they would play over and over again. So I, might want to do a counter gag. So, excuse me. That was episode 3. Hopefully I'll be back sooner rather than later for episode 4. Hope you enjoyed this. And also, tried out some of my hair since it got long, tried a ponytail. What do you think? Good? Go back to just letting it free? Was there something else? Something else different here? I can't think of anything. So, I've rambled on long enough. See ya.